machines that have the power and the discretion to take human lives are politically unacceptable, are morally repugnant, and should be banned by international law.
A very warm good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I am very anxious, and I'm very afraid actually. But perhaps my anxiety and my fear is not what you may suppose. I am afraid because on the horizon are horrendous, inhuman weapons being developed by a number of the big five. These weapons are known as killer robots. Machines that once activated are able to make the decision to select who to target and kill without any further human intervention. Also known perhaps by many as autonomous weapon systems. In other words, they do have the power over life and death. That is what I'm afraid of, because it seems the governments who have been entrusted with the obligation to protect the rights of every citizen under their jurisdiction are not doing what is necessary to stop these weapons from happening. I am going to discuss about 4 issues tonight with you. And the first one, perhaps, is to start by introducing myself to you. My name is Dr. Thompson Chengeta. I was born in a very small town called Shurugwi in Zimbabwe, and I'm a lawyer by profession. Having studied law at Midland State University, the University of Pretoria, and Harvard Law School at Harvard University, and where my focus in my study was the international law applicable to autonomous weapon systems, also known as killer robots. In my researches, in my conclusions, in all my 4 degrees, theses on this particular topic, and in all earnest research, there was only one conclusion. There is no way by which killer robots can be able to comply with the laws of war, or even be used in compliance with such laws. The second issue which I want to talk about, perhaps, is before I knew how to read constitutions, interpret them, or how to read treaties and interpret them, or also any other law that governs humanity, I also studied history. I also used to teach history in schools. What I learned in that history, in particular, the African history, the European history, the American history, or any other state in the Asian continent, was that whenever there was a terrible leader or a misguided leader, and whenever they chose to use terrible weapons, there were terrible consequences. From the choice of weapons which were used in the French Bastille to torture citizens, from the weapons that were used during the world wars, from the gas chambers that we saw in the Holocaust, from blood and sweat that was found on the mountains, the hills of African Rwanda, and the blood that was spilled therein, and the weapons that were used. And also from Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the atomic bombs that were used therein. I realized one thing. It was because the public, and the public I mean everyone included in this room, perhaps did not do much to stop the terrible leader from using those particular weapons. So, what I learned from my side of history and teaching history was perhaps what is important is not only remembering what the terrible leaders or those leaders that failed humanity did, but it is what the public, the citizens of that leader did once that leader chose that path. That citizen includes you. Today, we are talking on the horizon, are killer robots. What are you saying to your government? What is your role? From as little as tweeting about it to say, stop doing this. From as much as marching to the parliament to say to the parliamentaries whom you elect to those posts, stop doing this. Everything does matter. I'll discuss the third thing, which is when I started working for the UN Special Rapporteur, Professor Christoph Heinz, on extrajudicial executions, I participated in the drafting of the first report to the UN Human Rights Council on autonomous weapon systems. And after thorough research, we did not the legal concerns, the ethical concerns in that report, why autonomous weapon systems need, or killer robots need to be stopped. Our government, your government, is aware of these particular issues. But they are not acting. Since 2012, they are not acting on it. Why it is important now for the public to do more. And also, having worked, which is my fourth issue and last issue, having worked with the governments of Africa, I wanted to emphasize one thing which every African government has been noting, is to say, our major concern coming from a weaker position is that these particular weapons will not be used in tandem with what we call Ubuntu spirit. Ubuntu spirit means human dignity. I am because we are. We are because I am. They say that if these weapons will be allowed to exist, they will not be in tandem with human dignity, which is the mother of all rights. We are in Berlin. Even your own constitution of Germany, the first article is on human dignity. And I'm urging every citizen, perhaps, for the German government to take a lead in banning autonomous weapon systems, also known as killer robots. And lastly, I would want to say this. When we say we are the campaign to stop killer robots, it shouldn't be a referral to men and women who wear the badge which says that. We are campaign to stop killer robots. It should be about every human being living. My sister, my brother, that child, everyone knowing about this issue, to say we are the campaign to stop killer robots. We shall not be that public which sits and see its government do another horrendous thing. We are the campaign to stop killer robots. Thank you.